Just strengthen your core, and that'll help you stay tight down in the hole. That's what she said.
Well, bright and early today. It's 7:15, but I kind of need to get used to waking up early because the place I'm working at, owner asked if I wanted to help him start like a 5 a.m. powerlifting group, so should probably start getting used to this. Do you have my stretchy stretch? I thought I lost my rotator cuff stretchy band, but apparently I just always leave it on the ground, so Michael keeps picking it up. I'm taking Amino Shooter Edge because every time I take Mesomorph recently, I just get a huge headache. I'm not really sure what the deal is with that, but saw a video from Athlane X where he was saying that DMAA was banned because it causes brain bleeding. So I think I'm gonna steer clear, at least for the time being. Don't want to die or anything. I'm a very strong advocate of a high-carb pre-workout meal, but when you're bloated as butt from a sushi challenge you did the day before and have no desire to eat yet, you can probably skip it. Pierce the Veil's new album is 10 out of 10. Shit gets me amped. Time to squat.
What's up, guys? I know a lot of you probably already do this, but there's a shockingly high percentage of people who don't actually do any sort of stretching or warm-ups, so this is a pretty big deal. For squats, I like to do a lot of hip stretches because otherwise my hip flexors are tight and my depth suffers. This is pigeon pose. It's actually a yoga move. It's really good for stretching both hips, actually, your left and right side. And you should be warming up starting with the bar, bumping up the weights to where you want to be. I like practicing with the actual movement, so like bending down and bouncing around in the squat like I just did. And then you want to warm up starting with the bar, and then bump up your weight incrementally until you're at your working weight. So when I first started squatting, I honestly had no idea what a high bar squat was, what a low bar squat was. Occasionally I heard them, but I never paid any attention. I was just like, if I'm doing a squat, I'm squatting. So freeze the frame. You can see there that there's a bigger lever arm here. This is a high bar squat, and that is when the bar rests on top of my traps and right up against my neck. Here I'm switching to a low bar stance. You can see the bar is lower on my back. This is a low bar squat. The bar rests more on your wrists, which is why I wear wrist wraps. Pause it, you can see the lever arm here is shorter. That's the advantage of a low bar squat. The longer that lever arm is, the distance from the bar to your hip hinge, the harder it's going to be to do more weight. Now this is just basic physics. The further away a force is from the center of rotation, the greater the moment it causes. When you squat, you are producing a moment about your hip hinge. A moment is basically a rotational force. You may think, the weight isn't going in a circle. This is true. The weight goes straight up and down, but your body is folding over into a squat. You don't actually go straight up and down. Only the bar does. Your torso creates that rotational force about your hips to push the bar back up and unfold itself. So that's the rotational force I'm talking about. Here, once again, you can see that the low bar squat produces the shorter lever arm, and thus you need to produce less of a moment and less of a force to move the weight for that squat. And if you couldn't tell that those low bar lever arms were shorter, here are some close-ups and comparisons of the two. So with your squat, you're going to want to push your knees outward Technically, this is not the typical way that you'll be taught to squat. This is just a way to maximize the amount of load you're using in a powerlifting sense. You push them out to shorten the lever arm, like we were just talking about in the last tip. If you squat with your knees pointing straight forward, you're going to be sticking your butt a lot further back and making the lever arm longer. Now, pointing your knees straight forward is not a bad thing for hypertrophy purposes. It helps you target the quads a lot harder, so you can use that for your bodybuilding needs, but specifically talking about moving the most weight and powerlifting, you're going to want to push your knees outward. Now, if your knees are caving in, this is something you never want. That means you either have overactive or tight adductors and need to stretch, or more likely you have underactive glutes, the gluteus medius and the gluteus maximus specifically, so you'll need to strengthen those to get rid of this problem. The raised heel provides you with extra plantar flexion at the starting point of the squat. This reduces the amount of dorsiflexion required at the ankle joint and thus reduces the need for crazy ankle mobility. Notice how on my squats, my knees come just over my toes. The raised heel keeps my knees from having to dorsiflex too far forward over my toes. Notice on Michael's flat-heeled squats, his knees come forward more. In order to finish the squat, he has to bring that back to a straight standing position, so that's just a little extra work he has to do. Now, if your body mechanics require your knees to pass your toes, don't freak out. This won't destroy your knees. That's a stupid gym myth. Don't believe me? Go watch some of the top powerlifters just on YouTube. Go search them, and they're doing just fine with their knees past their toes. The raised heel helps with ankle mobility, and it keeps the load focused on the quads, hips, and lower back, which is where you want it. So another mistake I see very often in the gym is people will do their squats, they'll get to the bottom, and then their hips will rise faster than the bar does. And they kind of just fold over at the bottom of the squat. I'm exaggerating this here in this clip. They kind of fold over at the bottom of the squat, and then their hips come up faster, and then they have to do a good morning to get the rest of the squat and complete the lift. This is obviously not efficient. You're literally increasing your range of motion. Here is what you should be doing. You should stay tight at the bottom, keep your back neutral, and explode up. If you have trouble with this, you can strengthen your core, or you should strengthen your core and your lower back. There are so many exercises out there that you can use to do this. There are deadlifts, low back hyperextensions, crunches, leg raises, planks. There's so many things, guys. Just strengthen your core, and that'll help you stay tight down in the hole. That's what she said. Okay, I don't actually mean booty shorts, I just mean short shorts that will not limit your mobility, so I'm very serious about this tip. If your shorts are too long, they'll pull on your knees, and that's just an extra force you have to compensate for. Albeit small, there's no point in adding that extra bit of load that you have to overcome in your squat. So here you can see my shorts are above my knees, and they don't restrict at all. Michael's shorts are a bit long. I need to tell him to get shorter shorts. Get some booty shorts for that boy. And yeah, you can see that the tips of the shorts are actually pulling on his knees at the bottom of the squat. And that just adds that little bit of extra load. And honestly, I just find the longer shorts annoying when I'm squatting because it pulls on my knees and it's just a little uncomfortable.
I hope those squat tips are enlightening to some of you. Just some of the physics behind the squat and why certain things will increase your squat due to the fact that you have to produce less force to accommodate those things. If you have a bigger lever arm, you have to produce more force because say this is your center, there's a moment about it. The further the force is, the more of a moment you have to produce, which is the force you have to produce around this point. I hope that's not too confusing. I hope somebody took physics and understands that. But yeah, I'm probably going to do cardio and abs later because we did not have time since Michael had to go to work. So I'll be back with that. I'm about to do 2 hours of cardio and some abs because I didn't have time to do abs earlier. I've been doing a lot of cardio recently just due to how much I've been eating, just steady state, and I watch YouTube videos while doing it. And yeah, there's not really much else to talk about in this video, so that's it for the vlog. Like the video if you enjoyed it, comment. Let me know if any of these tips are enlightening for you. I made this video to help you guys out in case anyone wants to up their squat numbers. And subscribe, check out my other videos. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day, guys.